In this video, I'm going to go over some changes and modifications that I made to a Steeldive watch. So this is the watch after the changes, after the modifications, and I just want to talk about some of the things I did and how I did them. So this watch started out, and I guess at its core, it still is. It's a Steeldive watch. So Steeldive is a Chinese company. They make watches that are very much in the style of Rolex Submariners. This particular watch is a model 1953. There's a model 1954 that looks very similar. So if you have a 1954, a lot of these modifications will apply to the 1954 as well. So Steeldive, like I said, their watches are very much in the style of Rolex Submariners. And to me, my Steeldive looked too much like a sub. I wanted to give it its own personality. I didn't want people looking at it thinking it was a sub, or I was trying to show that I had a sub on when I wasn't. So with just a little bit of effort and really not too much investment, I was able to change the Steeldive into a watch that I think, for me, I like a lot more. It still has a tool watch look, but I think it looks a lot dressier, and it looks a lot more refined than it did. So the Steeldive, they use the Seiko NH35, NH36 movement. And that's a real good movement. It's a real solid, dependable workhorse of a movement. It keeps time very accurately. It's easy to get replacement parts for, and it's easy to work on yourself. So if you want to learn how to work on watch movements, the NH35, NH36, they're good movements to start out on. My Steeldive, I bought it about a year ago, and it cost roughly $90. And I would say that that was a pretty good price. For $90, you get a very dependable NH35 movement. You get stainless steel case, stainless steel bracelet. You get a lot. You get a good watch for $90. So no complaints at all about Steeldive or the products that you get for the price. But like I said, I personally just didn't want it to look so much like a sub. So that's why I made the changes I did. The first thing I did, if you look at the watch face, I took off the logo, I took off the name, I took off the writing at the bottom that said the depth, how many bars. It was waterproof. I think it's 20 bar, 30 bar, I can't remember. But I took all that off. I think it really helped clean up the watch face. The watch face itself, I think, it's a very nice, very legible face. Again, it's just like the face of a Submariner. When you take the watch face off, you remove the crown, you remove the back, take the movement out, and you have the watch face. The watch face itself, I think, is plastic, but it's a very rich, it's a very dark, lustrous black. It looks almost like it's enameled, but I'm very sure for this price point you're not getting enamel. It's probably black plastic, but it's good quality black plastic. So how do you remove the logo, the writing? You'll just need some acetone. Acetone, same thing as it's fingernail polish remover. So most houses have some acetone in the medicine cabinet somewhere. You take the acetone and put it on either a Q-tip or a little foam swab, and you just work very gently, very lightly, very gently over the top of the watch. Don't scrub it. You're just very, very lightly going over. And after a few times doing it, you'll see that you're starting to lift up the paint. And once you do that, just work your way in little sections and the paint will come off very easily. What will happen is after you use the acetone and after you remove the paint, you're going to see a bit of a film, kind of a rainbow film over the top of the watch face. To get rid of that, just use Windex or some kind of home window cleaner. And Windex works really well. It removes the rainbowy film. But again, you have to just do it in small pieces, small sections, and just do a little bit at a time. Don't try to do it all at one time. Just do a little bit at a time, take your time, and you'll get really good results. It works great. So total investment in time, removing everything, probably took me about an hour. Maybe a little bit less, but I wasn't in a hurry and I tried to take my time and do just a nice job. So time took me about an hour, total cost, $0. It didn't cost me anything because I had acetone and Windex at home. The next thing I did is I removed the cyclops. So the cyclops is the little glass bubble that goes over the date window. Now in the model 1954, there is no date window, so there is no cyclops. So if you have the model 1954, this is one step you don't have to worry about. But if you have the 1953 or another Steeldive that has a cyclops, and you want to remove that cyclops, there's a very easy way to do it. I think the cyclops makes the watch face look unbalanced. It's very asymmetrical. I don't really use the date window that much anyways, and I think it just looks more balanced without it. So the first thing I did to try and remove it is I tried to apply heat using a soldering iron. I took the soldering iron and I held it to the watch face, the watch crystal, to the cyclops. Nothing happened. The only thing that happened is the watch crystal ended up getting very hot and the watch case ended up getting very hot, but nothing really happened as far as removing the cyclops. So for me, soldering iron didn't work. So the next thing I did is I went to the kitchen and I took a spatula and I popped out the watch bezel, or I popped out the watch crystal. So the watch crystal on a dive watch where it's a flat crystal, it's pretty easy to remove the crystal and reinsert it as well. So I took the crystal out and I put it in the spatula so that part of it was sticking out of the spatula a little bit. And then I went to the stove and I turned the stove burner on and I held the crystal and the spatula over the stove burner. When I did this, it took a while, but it heated up the crystal enough that the cyclops came off. The glue or the adhesive that was bonding it came off pretty easily. After I did this though, the watch crystal was very, very hot. I mean, it was so hot that I couldn't touch the crystal itself for probably like 10 minutes. So I took a cooking glove or a baking glove, one of the gloves you use to get things out of the oven, and I set the crystal on the glove and just let it cool down. And like I said, it took about 10 minutes before it was cool enough that I could pick up the crystal. But the crystal didn't warp, it didn't crack, it didn't discolor, nothing happened to it. The crystal, it's perfect, it's fine. So I do want to make a disclaimer here. This is what I did. I'm not telling anyone to do this. If you try this yourself, you assume your own responsibility. If you break your crystal, if you burn yourself, if you burn down your house, that's all on you. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just telling you what I did, and it worked for me. But definitely don't do this if you don't feel comfortable doing it. There are probably other ways to remove the crystal that don't involve as much heat as I used. But the crystal itself was fine, and it was very easy. Once it cooled down, I used a crystal press to press it back into the case. There was no damage. There's a little plastic sealer ring when you put the crystal in. That hadn't been damaged at all. So the crystal was able to go back in and snap back in pretty well. Cost to do this, $0. So far I've not paid for anything for this modification. But now this part is where I end up spending a little bit of money. So I wanted to change the bezel insert. So the bezel is the part that goes around the outside that rotates. So the insert is the part with the numbers. I wanted to change that because, again, I felt that the bezel itself looked too much like a sub. So the bezel for the 1953, it comes off very easily. And when you take the bezel off, it's very easy to remove the bezel insert. The bezel insert is just held on by double-sided sticky tape. That's it. That's the only thing that's holding this thing on, double-sided sticky tape. Very easy to take off. I ordered a new bezel insert from Watch-Modz. And Watch-Modz has a lot of different bezel inserts. If you're wondering what kind of bezel insert will fit for a Steeldive, I found that the bezel inserts for a Seiko SKX 007 will fit a Steeldive 1953. So this bezel insert is a bezel insert for a Seiko SKX 007, and it fit perfectly. This particular bezel insert style is Yachtmaster, a Rolex Yachtmaster bezel style. It's stainless steel. It's got nice big numbers. I like it. I think it's very simple looking, but it's also kind of industrial looking, but it's also kind of classy looking too. So that's why I went with the Yachtmaster bezel insert. Bezel insert, very easy to put on. Like I said, it comes with, if you order it from Watch-Modz or from whatever company, it comes with double-sided adhesive, and it just sticks on, and then you can put the bezel back on. I think for this particular bezel insert, I paid $25. You can get bezel inserts cheaper. I liked this one, so I went with this one. And then the last thing I did is I changed out the band. The band was the band that came with the watch. I think as far as quality, it was fine. I had damaged the clasp to the band at work, and it was having a little bit of hard time closing when I put it on my wrist. So I figured I would just, rather than try to fix that, I would just go ahead and switch it out. And I had wanted to switch it out to a NATO strap anyways. So this particular NATO strap is black and gray, and it's from a company called Crown and Buckle. Crown and Buckle makes high quality NATO straps. This particular strap is from their line, their NATO Supreme line. I really like the look. I like the quality. You can get cheaper NATO straps, but I wanted to go with a decent quality NATO strap. I think this particular strap cost me $35, but like I said, you can get them cheaper, and if you wanted to save money in that regard. So initial investment for the watch, $90. I spent $25 on the bezel insert, and then I spent $35 on NATO straps. So grand total of $150, including the watch and the modifications. So I think that for me, I feel okay paying that for this modified watch. It has a good Seiko NH35 movement, stainless steel case, high quality NATO strap, a bezel that I think looks a little nicer and more industrial looking than the previous one did. So I think $150 for this watch is pretty good. I'm happy with that. It's nice looking, it's comfortable, it keeps very good time, and no one's gonna mistake it for a Rolex Submariner. It's got its own personality, it's got its own look, and I'm very pleased with the way it turned out. So I just wanted to share that information with anybody who might be thinking of making some modifications to their Steeldive watch, or any watch for that matter. Just little things you can do to change the personality of your watch and kind of make it your own. Thanks for watching.